Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. One final hello from Collab Fest. This is our last session, can you believe it? I can't. What am I to do with my life tomorrow? Welcome everyone. This is our last session. It's a beautiful panel. We're talking about unlocking delightful remote team collaboration. And this matches so well the Collab Fest team. The music you're hearing in the background, you can manage the volume locally. If you hover over that tiny button, you can play with that volume bar if it's too high. So feel free to do that for yourselves. Collab Fest was, I'm already talking about it in past tense, this 2-day festival where we celebrated remote collaboration in this distributed hybrid remote world that we're all living in. We were joined by amazing experts, crazy talented facilitators, remote work enthusiasts, strategists, and so on. And they shared best practices and tips and tricks. And if you've joined us for the past days, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm so excited to welcome our panelists this evening because it's going to be awesome. My prompt for everyone is, what's your face when someone says remote collaboration is better than face-to-face collaboration? So all you have to do is hover over those cat faces and just kind of, just show us the face that most represents you. I'm surprised that no one's here in the sleeping corner. All right, okay. Shreya is skeptical, I think. Is that skepticism? Ivo is like, I don't know. He's just playing with me. All right, cool. I think majority were excited. That's why we're also here. Let's have a look here. Another provoking statement. Remote collaboration can be as effective as offline collaboration. Do you agree or do you disagree with this? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Yes, Frank, Katerina, somewhere in the middle, maintaining a good dose of skepticism. Okay, so I'm happy no one's on the strongly disagree side. That's good. Let me kill the music here to make sure that we're not overly stimulated with a lot of things that's happening. Okie doke. This scale, yes, go to 11. So. If you're hearing, and I'm pretty sure you will hear, some truth bombs, some golden nuggets, some mic drops moments, some aha moments, some, oh my God, all my light bulbs are on fire moments, feel free to take those learning out of today's room and the session and share it on social media using the hashtag CollabFest2022 and tagging Butter so we can find your posts. And what we're going to do, we're going to reward this sharing and learning out loud with picking one lucky winner, and we're going to cover their life in butter. They're getting free butter for life forever and ever. And 2 other lucky winners are getting 1 year of butter business free, so they can play around with all the good features that we have. So don't be shy. This is your last opportunity to allow us to cover your life in butter. Yum. Good. For the last time this week, but surely not the last time ever. Who here in this room is for the first time ever in butter? Who sees this for the first time? The polls, the flashcards, everything. Always curious to see if we're making new friends along the way. Hello, Daniela. A warm welcome to butter. It's really nice to have you here. And we've also have Tyler. Yeah, so all you have to do is pick the option and then click submit answer, so it reaches the other side of the poll. Perfect. Keep them answers coming. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start introducing our panelists today. And as I do that, maybe Cheska is giving me a hand and pulls them in the spotlight. So we can welcome them and start a conversation. So, Laila, hello, Laila. Wiggle a finger, say hi to the camera.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. I loved all the
The-
little emoji reactions.
Yoo-hoo!
I'm Laïla von Alvensleben, head of culture and collaboration at MURAL, and happy to be here. In Butter, I know that we have a MURAL Butter integration, but I
We
haven't used it
do.
personally, so I should definitely learn how to.
Yes, we can definitely help with that, Laila. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
accepting our invite to be with us today.
Thank you.
Well, Laila already mentioned she's the head of culture and collaboration in Mural, and she's also a champion for remote first and hybrid remote approach to team collaboration, which is perfect for actually for our topic this evening, or this morning. I mean, I don't know where you're tuning in from. She regularly contributes to many of the leading courses, conferences, and publication of the future of work. So you've probably seen her in other talks and workshops, panels, or read some of her articles. She has worked remotely since 2014, when remote work was not a thing, and we weren't all forced to do it whether we want to or not. As one of the Mural's 600 employees distributed across 24 countries, empowering the company rapidly growing team to successfully connect and collaborate from anywhere. I'm so keen to hear all of your stories and what the learnings were along the way. Laila, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
The next panelist is Ivo. Ivo, hey. Ding ding. Hello, hello, and welcome. Ivo is a remote work advocate and the co-founder of Remote How, the world's leading platform for remote professionals powered by and for the community of 25,000, over probably more than that by now, people in 128 countries. Through various initiatives like Remote How Academy and virtual co-working, together with the world's top remote companies like GitLab and Prezi and Doist and Remote How, is on a mission to help everyone achieve freedom of choice regarding where and when they work. He was also a relentless doer, the kind of self-proclaimed workaholic every team needs. Yoo-hoo!
Yes or no? I don't know now. I wrote this sentence a couple of years ago.
You can tell us all about the changes that happen in between. We're all ears. You've lived what on 3 different continents? Is it more by now? How many countries? Tell us.
Too many, too many. And regarding the workaholism, I'm now trying to work less. So this is the new theme for 2022, and I encourage everyone to work less and
Yeah,
remotely, of course.
less and remotely. That sounds. Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you for being here this evening.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And now, everyone, let's welcome Daphne to the spotlight as well. Hey, Daphne.
Hey,
I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
I really like the sound of it.
Cool.
It's sounds very good.
Awesome. So Daphne is
Daphne.
it reminds me of Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
Does
it
anyone else
is.
think about Scooby Doo and
each,
Daphne from Scooby Doo? Yeah.
each time I say it's just like in Scooby Doo.
So there we go. To the doom. Boom boom. Daphne is a distributed workplace consultant who is on a mission to help executives, people ops, and team leaders drive a company-wide shift towards remote-first ways of working. Uh, as well, I think you have over 10 years of experience in fully distributed companies, so long before us, the rest of the world, where you played key roles in establishing scalable workflows for growth, facilitating business decisions remotely, and building internal products dedicated to digital first teams. As an early advocate of remote work, she previously led the first online conference about remote work as a business strategy with over 1,500 live attendees. Wow, wow, wow. And recently, Daphne, you also launched your remote first podcast when you're bringing interesting people to talk about digital first cultures. Yay.
It's
Tell me,
me.
I know these introductions don't do you guys justice with all the amazing experience and all the cool stuff and projects that you're doing. Excited to have you here this evening. So for everyone in the room, this is a panel conversation, and I am very much looking forward to your questions in the chat. So don't be shy. Feel free to add your questions, and we're going to make sure to surface them for our panelists today. All right. So give me a thumbs up if we're ready to rumble. Okay. Beautiful. So Butter, just like I don't know, we only know remote, right? We're a remote first company. We're a fully distributed team from the very beginning, and we kind of as we grew and still today we are still developing and working on the foundation of our ways of working based on the reality we're living in, people joining from all over the world. So we haven't really worked as a team in any different way, and we still face challenges, and we are still doing adjustments and learning about the best ways to collaborate remotely. But my intuition is telling me that we're having a much easier time than other companies that had to make the switch from offline to fully remote with the pandemic 2 years ago. So my first question to you is, let's try to isolate the main challenges that you and your teams and your companies are still facing today when it comes to hybrid and remote work. I'm going to start with Daphne first, and then feel free, Ivo and Laila, to add to what she says.
That's good, actually. It's been a challenge I've been going through recently because I started to do more workshops in a hybrid setup with companies that are just trying to make this work, and it's very challenging. Even myself, just learning how to make that work, how to make the experience great for people who are remote or who are in person. So I think really the main difficulty is really to create, an experience that is inclusive and equitable for everyone, to really feel like they're all part of it equally. They all can all be heard. It's still a challenge, even technically, to really make it happen. And there's a lot of effort to put in for the facilitator. It's really, at the end of it, I'm so exhausted when I finish my hybrid workshop. So I wonder what others in the panel maybe have to say in their experience with that. But so far, I could share a lot of challenges or things I've learned in that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if, 2 cents from me, a lot of this stuff can now happen asynchronously, both if we're talking about how we work, how we communicate, but also how we prep for the workshop, prep for the session, and then also what happens after. Looking at the legacy of companies who are not remote first, remote friendly, hybrid, however you want to call it, before March 2020, there is a humongous challenge around communication. There's a humongous challenge in very synchronous way of working. So looking from the perspective of the collaboration in such setup, to make things easier and actually to save also a lot of time during the session. And I'm actually inspired by the session that Laila did for Remote First Institute on Tuesday. There's a lot of prep that can happen asynchronously. So I totally agree with this approach. Do more stuff async, write stuff down. When it comes to prepping workshops, give a small homework, start the mural, invite people there. So this can really save you time, but also get people more engaged in what will happen after that. So as I said on chat, Laila is my true inspiration.
Oh, I'm gonna blush too much on this panel, but I agree to everything you said, Ivo, and Daphne as well. So I mean, not just to add on to that, at Mural we talk a lot about what to do before, during, and after any session, and not just a workshop. It's a meeting. Um, it's a social hour. It's whatever it is. And I think often we meet without really understanding why we're meeting. So I love, doing an audit of all your meetings and just deleting everything from your calendar, maybe like once a year minimum, and then just putting back what you need. It's like, kind of, somebody said yesterday, it's like one of those diets where you stop eating everything to figure out what you're intolerant to, and then you slowly start putting things back. And I think we need to be more intentional about how we meet. And I'm actually reading this book now called The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. if anybody else is familiar with it. I'm not finished yet, but it's really all about what is the purpose of gathering, and any other decision that you make has to follow that. But to Evo's point, we have to become better at async, right? Like, and then so that when we do gather, it's super intentional. It's a very engaging and positive experience for everyone. But let's not just gather because for the sake of gathering, because it's easier. That being said, one of our biggest challenges, like for most people, based on many surveys that I've seen in research, is isolation. And especially after the lockdowns that we have faced globally, that has become, I think the mental health issues that have happened across the world through that, and we talk about it more in HR now. It's a real thing. So even for myself, who was, I was used to working remotely, now I'm like, I cannot stay home all the time because COVID really made that such a lonely experience. So I'm even starting from October, I'm going to be going to co-working spaces again. And I think it's important to yes, work remotely and find ways in your personal life to see other people. We all need that.
Yeah, and to Layla's point, this is one of the things that we should debunk, that working remotely means working from home. It can means working from many different places, and you should just find the place that works for you, or you need to switch places, or if you're an introvert and you love your home, then it's totally fine. But at least you ask the question, where's the base where you want to work, and you're doing this.
Well, you kind of ticked all the boxes, all the main challenges. Tyler has a question. Tyler, do you wanna share with us?
Do I unmute? Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, you've got
Okay,
it.
This is my first butter. Like I'm
Hey.
Nice to see you, Tyler.
I'm covered in the butter. I enjoyed the butter cookies on the way in. Here we are. So I am the newly minted head of remote at Polygon Technology, and one of the things that we're experiencing is those like really far distributed teams, right? Because we have a like really large cohort in South Asia, and then the North American East and West Coast, and then like all parts in between, right? And so like those are really hard time zones to like link up. And I guess maybe, have you had experience of getting people who are collaborating, right, that are used to having a meeting centered model of collaboration and shifting to a document centered like model of collaboration? Because that's the phrase that I'm trying right now for everybody, right, is to say, okay, we're gonna have the foundation of our collaboration be this document, and maybe it's a mural board, maybe it's like this is not like this is inclusive of all kinds of documents, right? But like having that be the foundation, and then put meetings on top of that. If I get does that work? Have you tried that before? Like I'm just grasping for things that like mental models that have worked for me, but I don't know if I'm special or how do you say that to people? Like I'm really interested in how you guys have like come alongside people that are trying to make that shift of like managing a distributed team. What are your best phrases?
Maybe I can jump in. Hi, Tyler. Nice to see you, and congrats on the new role also at Polygon. It's really cool to see you there. It fits you perfectly. Yeah. So actually, what I've seen and we talk a lot is you can show by example. So like when yourself you are saying you want people to collaborate better in an async format and delete a meeting or something. You talked about Mural. Like you can create a board and then just say like, let's use that board as the place we're going to collaborate on instead of having a meeting, and people can all collaborate on it in a different time zones. And if there is a need to come together to really clarify things, maybe you want to go on a meeting, maybe record a Loom or something, but there are ways that you can connect everyone and have the same kind of meeting experience, but in an async fashion where people are just kind of joining the board and still collaborate if there's really good guidance on how they can collaborate on the board and have a good framework to it. It's quite normal what's your living where people have been used to working in a specific way in meetings, and it's a lot of change for them, and to change completely their behavior is a long process, and the best way to do it is really through like ambassadors in the company who are just really like making the the changes happen in different departments and be kind of like advocate for the change in the company. But it takes a long time to change the culture. Like async is a culture shift really in the company. It doesn't take a week or two. It takes like a year or a year, a full year at least, to do that completely and rededicate to it. So that's my 2 cents.
I wanted to also say everything that Daphne mentions is true, is going to take time. So you cannot expect results overnight. And when you do want to role model it, at least what we've seen at MURAL, and we're still trying to improve the way that we do async and meetings and all of this. So there's a long way for us to go as well, because we tend to like being together all the time. If you look at a company like Doist, they have an extremely async culture. It's intentional. There's even a blog post, I believe, by their CEO or founder or both, who has almost no meetings on his calendar. This is the CEO of Doist. He's very adamant about that. They use their own tool to communicate, to document, to share information. They do also async socializing and connecting. So if you speak to Chase Warrington, who's head of remote there, he has a lot of content on how you can do team building async. But what's key there, I think, with Doist is that it comes from the top, right? It's the people at the top who have to role model. It's not enough for me as head of remote to role model. And I've said it at MURAL many times, I can shout with a megaphone and say, this is what we need to do, and here's the documentation and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter if the executive leadership team is not going to do it. So you really, I'm looking at ways, how can we get the leadership team to role model, especially when they're so busy. What are some small things that they can do? What are the messages that they can pass across to their managers, and then let it kind of trickle down? If you are in a more hierarchical company, there are some flat companies, and that's great, but that's not our case. So if you do have a leadership team, get them to role model, get them to get people engaged and excited about it.
Yeah, and one fun fact about Doist, I learned that I don't know if the guy's still with the company, but there was employee that no one ever seen on any call. So the guy just existed and communicated fully asynchronously, right? So this is a very edge case scenario, but looking at how amazing culture Doist built for years now, I think you can do it. But looking at the chat, like, be intentional about this, have rituals, and even if that doesn't work, keep grinding. There will be a lot of pain, tears, blood, but if you have good intentions, then it would work. So fingers crossed for you, Laila.
Great, thank you so much. We've got a question from Daniela. Daniela, you've got the mic.
My comment actually was that there isn't just one way to do remote first. I've had different experiences. In my previous company, we had a lot of sync time, and the company that I'm in right now, they do async very well. And I feel like the main thing to do async very well is to document a lot. However, I see a problem with that, because a ton of documentation kind of only tailors to one type of audience or person. When I first came in, I was so overwhelmed by the sheer amount of pages that I had to read, and I'm more of a visual learner. So something to keep in mind if you're building that culture is to mind different types of people and different types of learners, and maybe include some visuals and some videos and like other types of learning materials to share that culture and make it inclusive for everyone, because otherwise it can also be very isolating. Like, we're all from home in our bedrooms or wherever, and if you only interact with written documentation, I guess that works great for that Doist employee who never met anyone if he was a hermit, but some people are more extroverted and really feed off of the interaction with other people. So that's definitely a challenge, I think.
I can really resonate with this, because even myself, I'm a super pro async, but I get really overwhelmed with documentation and writing because it's actually really not how I am functioning on a day-to-day. So, there's other ways, that can be used with videos, video recording, or there's tons of new platforms that are making learning easier, or, place to onboard employees in a more exciting way than just like getting a massive like handbook, because the handbook that's digital, if it wasn't a real handbook, it would just be like a massive block of papers. Like, would you actually want to have your employees like, hey, here's the dictionary of the company you have to read to come work here? So how to make it a bit more like light for people to come in. So I really resonate with that comment, Daniela. Thank you. Also would like to get you on LinkedIn. If you can send your link, I'd like to add you.
And also what we see that the good old certification programs that sound pretty old school, some companies are getting back to this idea because there's so much knowledge that right now really needs to be consumed if you're, for example, onboarding a new hire. So it's no longer, yeah, this onboarding program boring. No, right now, because the stuff needs to be written down, there are a lot of processes and you should follow them. Making a certification fun, like internal one, running it as a cohort-based experience, and then having some rewards after that is also one of the ways how from the day one you can encourage people to learn, know where the stuff is, and then make sure that they follow through later on.
Thank
and
you,
if I'm not
Daniela.
looking at you, I'm looking at my dog that is with me. So sorry.
We want to see the dog. We want to see the dog. Show the dog. Hello. Awesome, love it.
Yeah, she's depressed today because my wife went for a yoga retreat, and she's like, "Where is mommy?" And she's not playing with me, and she's just sad. So I need to cuddle her. Sorry.
Laila, you wanted to add?
One point about documentation, and Ivo made me think about this as well, is it's not just writing it, having the time to write it and finding the information up and updating it. Like at MURAL, we have documentation, and it's like, oh, this is not, it's not, how do you say, I can't find the word now, it's not updated, basically. Like it's not, we need to change the links, the process has changed, so you have to take time to update stuff. Then maybe you tag somebody, but that person has left the company, and then maybe you can't even edit the page anymore, if depending on what you're using, because only, the permissions are only attached to that person who left. So you have to contact IT to get those permissions. So documentation is not that easy, and then formatting is like an art in itself, right? Like having headlines, subheadlines. There are some people who don't have that at all. Like they just put a lot of text in. They don't think about bullet points, making it visual, adding breaks. So then it's like, do we have to make templates to teach people how to document everything? And when you're in a company of 10, works perfectly. When you're in a company of like 700, good luck. Like it's either one person is going to document everything, or a few people, or everybody's going to do it their own way, and then really good luck.
Now we see new roles being hired for technical writers just to do that.
Yeah,
like there's people now new role for that.
Yeah, like knowledge management specialist or someone like this.
Mm-hmm.
But when, I guess because at MURAL we grew so fast in 2 years, where it was like we were hiring 20 people a week during COVID. So it's not like it was going to be a bit chaotic anyway. Like it's we have now more time to start looking back at those things. But during exponential growth, you don't really have the time to do that properly.
Mm-hmm.
So in an ideal world, yes, you take your time, you do it. But if you don't have if you have the resources, but everything is moving super fast, it can be really hectic.
Right. I love how we landed very fast into the concreteness of examples and practical tips. And I'm really curious to know if you can give a couple of examples of things, tools, processes you've changed, implemented in your companies or in your teams that have noticeably impacted the way you work or the way you collaborate for the better, like tiny experiments that were successful.
I can start super simple one, daily check-in and check-out. So there is a dedicated channel where everyone, when they start the day, they write that this is my check-in, this is what I plan to do this for the next 8 or how many hours they will work, not more than 8. And then at the end of the day, they do a checkout, they summarize, this is what I've done, this is what I wasn't able to done because of blah, 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 right? One, it creates a lot of transparency because of course in a larger organization it needs to be divided into teams, etc. It creates transparency, it helps create trust because yeah, people are working, you see what they're working on, etc. It creates accountability because at the end of the day you're like, okay, that was my plan and this is the reality. So it's super simple. You don't need to have any fancy tools. Of course, you can link stuff to your project management or whatever tools that would be relevant for this task. But we strongly encourage teams or companies to implement something like this as a test. And maybe other small thing, to host regular deep working sessions to facilitate the team connection and also boost the productivity. So those are the two small things, like rituals that really make an impact and are easy to implement.
I'll let you,
Ta-da!
Laila, continue.
Sorry. I didn't know if you wanted to go next, Daphne. Sorry, I just to clear my throat. So yeah, we also use well, we use a mixture of rituals. I'd say one ritual we use a lot at Mural, more for team bonding, I would say, is warm ups, which are similar to check ins, but rather than just diving right into the agenda of the session that you're having and being almost like I say, like work robots, like we're here and we're not talking to each other about our personal lives, take some time to do something together. And it can be a 10-15 minute activity depending on how long the session is, to get to know each other more as humans. And I think that's extremely important. And we're also, our culture, I would say, is very playful at Mural, so we do make time to play. And we also try to give each other also kudos and things like that regularly, like show the impact that teams are making or an individual is making. It's very important to remember why you're doing what you're doing and the how what you're doing is connected to the company's mission, because sometimes you get so focused on just getting your tasks done that you do need those shout outs, right, from other people and celebratory moments. So we're actually focusing on creating more ways of celebrating and showing what impact we're having across the company. It's very important because otherwise people will also feel unmotivated if they feel like they're not making any impact. um, and then of course, I mean, we have our own visual collaboration tool, so we use that all the time. Our online whiteboard, and more, because it's not just about the whiteboard, it's also about all the methods and the ways of working that go with that. So we're very focused on the collaborative, we call it now collaborative intelligence. And we have a guide on collaboration. I'll share a link later on that in the chat. um, so yeah, our own tool, we have many rituals. And I think also getting
Connection, I think. Internet broke. Okay. Daphne, while we're waiting for Laila, maybe.
I think she's coming back. She's up. I just saw.
Yes.
Yeah, she's back.
I don't know what
She's
happened
She's
back.
almost.
The
there.
beauty of remote work.
Yay, I love the clapping. Yeah, my hair grew back in just in just those few seconds in the photo.
Okay, the photo.
Thank you, Tyler. And I got cut. Just did a quick haircut. So I think I just was like swiping my keyboard. So I'm gonna keep my hands here so I don't do anything. I was talking about our own tool and things like like company all hands meetings. Those are really powerful as well. We sometimes forget how, like, who else is at the company. So when we do these big bi-weekly or sometimes monthly meetings, now we've moved them to monthly, where you see the whole company have leadership talking and explaining what we're doing, and we're very focused on our OKRs, our goals, and tracking those. And we used to use a tool called Cohen to do weekly reflections within teams to show what Ivo said before, what have you done, what are your blockers, and all those things. Kind of like an async stand up reflection. Now we move to Asana because Cohen not existing anymore, or it was existing, but anyway, we moved away from Cohen. Are using Asana to track our goals, to do our reflections. So that's really important, and that's something you can do async as well, and it keeps you always aligned on the goals of the company. Oh, thank you, Katie, for sharing the link. I don't know if that's the same link I wanted to share. Actually, it's another one, but I will share another link as well.
2 links are better than no link.
There you go.
One
Yeah.
last thing I can add on top. I mean, I agree with all the things. It's also interesting to just learn from all of you too. Also, what you're doing. Usually, to me, it's like keeping the meetings really just for the team building and for the experience of like being together instead of like just the back-to-back meetings. So usually, I'm really pro like minimum amount of meetings, and then when they are happening, we really just enjoy our time together. When I was working, because now I'm consulting for like 3 years now, 3-4 years. So like I don't work in a real company anymore. But at that time, we were at the beginning before COVID. We created our own tools in Slack to be able to like connect people together. Actually, pre-donuts, we had our own tool that we built to make this happen, to make connection happen. We would have like team hangouts like once a month where the whole team all together like would come together, and it's just hanging out. It's just like, it's not a happy hour thing that you're just like us another Zoom call, because there's not that many Zoom call. So it's like one Zoom call where actually you can just have fun on it, and then you can show and tell what you've been working on, and people are usually very excited on this call. And it's just much more fun to go on these calls. It's not just another call because you don't have so many of them if you actually just focus on the team building on these calls. So that's like just what I would add. But everything else pretty cool. Everything.
Thank you. Yeah, already a lot of tips were shared. Also, the answers to the previous questions. And Valentina has a question. Valentina, do you want to come off mute and tell us your question about mentoring?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Great. So I was very curious about remote mentoring. As a trainer, I noticed that when you're prepared to train online, then there are certain things you do or don't do. But it's not that easy for people who haven't mentored or trained before. And training someone to mentor someone else remotely sounds like a very particular process. And I'm wondering if you have any ideas, tips, or solutions you've implemented through the years.
So specifically for mentoring.
Yes.
Yes. I will say, I mean, we don't have a mentorship program yet at MURAL. It's something we've been talking about a lot, but we have assigned new hires to buddies at MURAL. So this like a buddy program, which is not exactly a mentor, but it does help when you're a new hire to have somebody who's been there at the company longer, that you can always go to if you have any questions, that you can meet regularly. But it doesn't have to be, actually, we don't try to make it be someone in your team, but somebody in another department who can mentor you across the organization, but then doesn't mentor you in your role specifically. Now, mentoring in your role, that can also be done for sure. I don't have personal experience in it, but I know that absolutely can be done remotely, and I don't have any examples of that right now.
I can share an experience after Ivo. I give you the mic, Ivo, because you didn't talk in a while, so I'll wait.
Oh no! Go ahead. No, I mean mine is super simple. What we see is mentoring in groups, so mentoring circles, and either like internal ones or external ones. So there is a bigger group, not just like one-on-one, and you can also leverage the power that the knowledge of people from either different departments, different teams, or different companies. And pre-March 2020, when people were not that used to meeting online, that wasn't so popular. But right now you can see it left and right, that it's really more about coming together live and sharing rather than watching the video on how to mentor someone. So I would say that this is probably the simplest, but on the other hand, also the hardest part, because you need to also know how to facilitate such session. But getting smart people in one room and letting them talk sounds like a good start.
So actually, I've been getting a lot of requests around that topic. Like, okay, we need to train our leaders to be able to mentor remotely. Like, how do you do that? And myself, actually, I was like, actually, in the remote companies, very often before COVID, the remote jobs were also a lot for senior people. So you would actually more have like intermediate to senior uh, uh, roles, either at manager or individual contributor, where you're starting to have a lot more junior roles or people coming out of university and wanting to get a job remotely. And it's something actually that is very new. So myself, I was like, I need to try it out. I need to experience it. So I hired two interns from universities. So basically this summer, to test out like what it would be to mentor two university students that never worked remotely, never even had a job, and to like doing a specific role either in marketing or it was also sales and operations. And it was very interesting to think that at the beginning, oh my god, they might need like my hand on every single thing, but actually realizing that the clearer the tasks are, for example, you give them like very clear thing to work on, and maybe give like very clear details of like what you're expecting, but still with a lot of like place to really invent their own self. So basically you give them ownership on what they have to do. Say like, this is the goal that we're trying to do, and then work on it for like a week or two, and then, or even a week, because we were working completely async because they were in the US, like 9 hours behind me. And it's like, work on what you have to work on, and then let's go back onto it, and then like see and iterate. And we sometimes, it would have miscommunication, like we learned through it. But it's really when it was like clear goals, like why you're doing it and what it is, and then after giving clear feedback of the work they've been doing, and really letting them own the work they've been doing, and then they're going to learn through it, and then making sure that they also feel very comfortable to ask questions. So this is, for me, I would be like, here it's an internship, or if you're learning, so there's no worries about making a mistake. Like, come here and make all your mistake, it's totally fine. Or create a safe space for them to be able to ask a lot of questions and not feeling like they will think that I'm not that great or something, because when you're remote, you can really overthink and be on your own in front of your computer and just kind of like not getting things done because you want it to be perfect when you're showing it. So, say you can do work in progress, you can ask as many questions as you want, and just give a lot of ownership while giving good, clear information to help them. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Daphne. Any other questions? I just want to wait for a second there and see if there's anyone else that wants to bring a... Tyler, do you have something? Okay, sorry, I saw you unmuted there for a second. All right. Until
maybe I have a question.
Oh, hey.
To Daphne and to Laila. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, because you are such experienced remote workers, but maybe you discovered something that blew your mind this year. I don't know, it can be a tool, method, something like, whoa, I should have been doing this for years, but fine, luckily I found it, something fresh.
Besides butter.
Besides butter, of course, yeah. And the integration between butter and Mural that is still yet to be discovered.
Ivo, also, I mean, you are an expert as well. Just want to put.
Yeah, but I'm learning from pioneers.
Well, one is just in terms of tools. One tool that we really love at Mural is Loom. So that, I think, would have made work different if I had known about, or if it had existed when I started working remotely. It's such a great, for those who don't know, Loom allows you to record videos of yourself or screen sharing, and it allows you to show the video to whoever, and then they can react and comment in the video. So for async and for visual collaboration, it's great.
And how do you use it? Like also for documentation stuff, or more for like messages, announcements?
Yeah, messages and announcements. So like if I want feedback team on something and I'm gonna screen share and show my mural, or I want them to do
Mhm.
something but it's gonna take a while, I give instructions in Loom and I say, hey, here's what you need to do, fill this out, but especially if it's like a visual thing. I also share, maybe we send a engagement survey every quarter, and so I will share the results with my team because there's so much data that I think just look at the data alone won't be helpful. So I try to explain the trends and the things I've seen in the data. Getting feedback for that, we have every Monday from our leadership team a video that they update us on things that are happening at the company that we should know about. So that's great also for like an announcement. It's just their face, they're not screen sharing usually. And yeah, if we have like demos, lots of like things that we're testing internally, or new features, that team, the product team shows a lot of looms and they're like, hey, what, look at, and then sometimes they're 30 seconds long, but they're so efficient. And then you see like 100 people reacting and being super excited about a new feature. So that's very cool.
Thank you.
I mean, for me, I'm just blown away by all the startups that I'm talking to, because I'm really into discovering all the new products that come up. Butter was one of them as well, you know, and I was just like excited to see so many new tools now that make it so much easier to work remotely, where now people, before, like 5 years ago when I was saying I work remotely, were like, how do you do that? Like, how is this possible? And I was like, yeah, I mean, we didn't have all of this and we were making it happen. So I'm just like, now I'm like, so easy now. You can just like start a company remote. You have all the tools you need. It's like you can have like every single, you know, knowledge management platform, project management, collaboration tool, video, like dynamic metaverse. Like, I don't know, you can really have it all, you know? So it's just
Sometimes
like,
even too much.
yeah, it's just like, to me now, I'm just like, it's really easy now. There's no excuse for remote work. Like 5 years ago, I
Yeah.
can understand people that had absolutely no context was like, how is this possible to manage a team completely remotely? But yeah, now it's just like, I wish all the tools that we have now, we had them before. Like you know, I'm still learning today. Every day I'm learning. You know, you see, we all expert, but like I'm no expert. You know, like I learn every day. I'm just an advocate, or like trying to really like push for distributed first, because of the culture behind it and everything, and how it works. No, the remote first approach works in office or remote. It's just a whole new mindset of how to manage a company. So I'm just advocating for this, but I'm still learning every day.
And yours, Ivo?
Awesome. Mine, that's a good one. Something that blew my mind. So actually, I wanted to mention something about auto-transcribing meetings. I tried a couple of tools, but I haven't found the one that I'll be like, oh yeah, this is something that I would use. So it's actually, I had a follow-up question to you. Have you tried using Loom for transcribing stuff?
I don't think we have, but I know we've used a number of transcribing tools, especially
Okay.
Otter.ai.
Yeah, I've heard about. Yeah, I checked them. They look really
Eva,
good.
I can get back to you. I can ask internally what has
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
TLDV says Tyler. I actually follow their TikTok and I love their TikTok at TLDV. So
I tried. I wasn't sold. Maybe I should try again.
Okay.
Hashtag fun fact. So I hear a lot about the importance of acing, and I guess that remote, especially if you're working across different time zones, literally in a different space, and because remote also comes with this perk of flexibility, right? The fact that you can just design your own workday and work in the evening and go to the gym in the morning and take a walk for 3 hours in the sun in the middle of the day, etc. So I guess that when we say remote, async has to be part of that in order for remote to work. But so does sync. So I know that there's still a lot of struggle and there's still a lot of frustrations around the meetings we're having and the sessions we're having whenever we're meeting and we are making that effort to be in the same room like we are today. And I'm curious if you have any tips, or maybe your personal to-dos or things to be aware of when you're gathering your team and you're gathering the people you're collaborating with. How do you make that time very, very meaningful, very impactful, delightful, maybe even fun? Because we talked about burnout and fatigue and platform fatigue and all that also throughout Fest. And that's a real thing. Like, I guess we all feel it because we're in front of screens every day. So do you have any tips or tricks or kind of like your 3 things that you're always keeping in mind when you're gathering synchronously to make that time worthwhile and valuable and fun?
Smile, be authentic.
I
That's
think
the
this
end of my answer.
goes back to what Eva and I said at the beginning, right? About the before, the during, and after. What is the pre-work that you want to make the most of that time when you're together? So what can you get out of the way before, so that you're using the time together to actually get stuff done and not to like review something that could have been done async, right? So anything that you can get out of the way before, make people read something, make people watch a loom, right? That's super helpful. Make people fill out their profile for a workshop. Even some check-ins and warm-up activities, they can be done even before, and then you can use that time together better. Yesterday, actually, was it yesterday or the day before, Eva, the Remote First Institute webinar? Time is fine. I think it was 2
The
days
day
ago.
before today's, yeah.
Anyway, with Evo's Remote First Institute, I gave a webinar with Jim Callback, who is our chief evangelist at MURAL, around connecting and reflecting. So there are, as we collaborate, there are these moments you have to keep connecting with people and keep reflecting on what you've done together. So often we think, oh, we're going to do a retreat or we're going to do a happy hour or something, and that's enough to connect. No, as a manager or as an employee, you have to keep finding ways to connect, sync, async. So if you're sync, how can you connect? Well, I talked about check-ins and warm-ups and energizers and what the difference is between those three, and finding the human way to connect in those meetings. And then also another thing I like to do as a facilitator is assigning people roles, because I have, like most people, probably like 50 tabs open on my browser, right? We have 100 and something tabs. So people are maybe even listening to me right now and like looking at something else. But one thing I like to ask at the beginning of a session is like, what are you willing to put aside during this session so that you focus here? And as soon as you ask that question, people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to put my mobile phone off. I'm going to quit Slack, all these things. And it's, again, making people very focused and bringing a sense of mindfulness to that meeting. So I would say starting with that, then checking in on how people are feeling, all those things. And then assigning people roles like, hey, you, Eva, you're going to like track time, right? We have a timer here, you're going to track time. Daphne, you're going to be the note taker. And when you give people roles, it keeps people engaged in the meeting, and that facilitator role can pass around. And it's a skill that, to be honest, everybody should learn. It's not like there is a facilitator. We are all facilitators, and we can all learn these skills. And we should all learn these skills. Because also, what happens if, like what I did before, I fall out of the meeting by mistake? Somebody needs to be able to step in and facilitate if I'm not there anymore, or if I'm sick or whatever. So I think for the during part, you need to find roles and make it super intentional. And then at the end, find a way, aside from the usual like follow up and have actions and but and accountability, but like, can we reflect on what we just did and think, hey, wait a minute, what did we just learn? What was the biggest takeaway? Do like a little rose thorn bud activity if you're familiar with that, or a reflection. Yeah.
I was gone for the last 60 seconds, so if someone
Yeah,
called
we
me out,
talked only bad things about you, Evo.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought so. One thing that I wanted to add to when I still heard what you were saying is maybe also try to organize the meetings when you connect without video, when people are doing different things. For instance, they're taking their doggo out, or they are doing the laundry, or anything else, right? So it doesn't need to be always video. Sometimes it's just audio, like look at this as a podcast, right? I see companies trying this, so might be another way to connect.
I'm still an advocate for meeting in person sometime, like before pre-COVID. When I was speaking about remote work, I was talking about the isolation, the lack of awareness that you have. Burnout was there before as well. Like, it is very isolating. And when you have in-person moments and you do have meetups, and maybe like once a year, twice a year, maybe it's just your team that you work with and you have like one meetup, and just, you know, going out and having a bit of a human connection, it helps you put a personality on someone, you know, like Laila and I, we met this year for the first time after 7 years knowing each other, and it really like helped to just kind of have a bit of the feel of each other's vibe, you know, and feel a bit of each other. And now we kind of like understand each other better, how we could be working together. So it's I think it's still important to meet in person, even if we are super pro remote. Like I always love to do co-working sessions, or I used to travel when I was younger. Now with kids, I'm just kind of a bit settled in. But like I used to, you know, travel or be in Asia like Ivo, and just be like meeting up with other colleagues for a conference, and then we would hang out for a week in an Airbnb and co-work, and it just like was such a life. You know, I really miss it, but it was like fun to do that. And I think we can still do co-working sessions like that with your teammates and make it happen once in a while.
Well, we can only +1 that, because the Butter team has seen each other for the very first time since the company exists this year, a month ago. And yes, I still get goosebumps when I think about it. I'm like, oh my God, the warm and fuzzy feelings. And that was, I have to say, the fact that we knew each other and were working together remotely already for so long made that offline, that first time in real life meeting, so much better. And definitely that in real life meeting is making now the remote work so much better, because we hugged, you know, like we kind of, we hugged, we were in the same space. That was magical. I got emotional. Thank you so much, Daphne and Ivo and Laila, for the great conversation, insightful thoughts, all the very practical tips. I love that, how you landed that into reality and generously shared, you know, from your experience so far working remotely. Thank you everyone for joining, everyone in the room, for your thoughtful questions. I cannot leave you without a checkout questions, and I'm very curious, if you were to take this past hour and everything we talked about and pack it into one word, what would that word be? And to the left side of your screen, you're seeing a poll. Type your word and then hit the submit your answer button. Okay, you're going to see the word cloud after you're submitting your answer. So I see a lot of vibes, inspiring. I see a heart, love, wizardry, reflection, impact, multi-channel, intentionality, connection, asynchronous, reflection, vibes. I love that. Okay, keep them coming. Yay. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Collab Fest has come to an end. It was a beautiful 2 days. Thank you so much for joining us, some of you all along, and hanging with us and sharing so generously. It was beautiful. I'm popping the Butter community link in the chat. Let's hang out there and keep the conversation going. Otherwise, wish you all a beautiful, beautiful rest of the day wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you very, very, very soon. And let's enable the soundboard for everyone. So you're finding that in the React button, second tab, and just hit it. Let's make a big, 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 big. Yes.
Smooth like butter.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Bingo.
This was a great ride. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Bye, everyone.